In today's video, we explore 24 business analyst interview questions you will be asked during your interview. Each answer can be customized to highlight your unique qualifications and experiences. Before your interview, it's important to research the company and review the job description so you can incorporate key skills relevant to the job role in your answers. Question number 1. What is the role of a business analyst in an organization? Hiring managers ask this to assess your understanding of the value a business analyst brings to the business. They want to hear how well you grasp the balance between technical, business, and stakeholder needs. The role of a business analyst is to act as a bridge between stakeholders and technical teams, ensuring business needs are clearly defined and translated into actionable solutions. A BA identifies opportunities for improvement, helps design and test solutions, and facilitates communication throughout the project lifecycle. In my view, a strong business analyst doesn't just gather requirements, they dig into the why behind them. They understand the bigger business goals, challenge assumptions when necessary, and use data to support better decisions. Whether it's improving processes, reducing costs, or enhancing customer experience, the BA plays a key role in driving value. I also believe that adaptability is essential. Whether the environment is agile or waterfall, the BA needs to flex their approach based on project and stakeholder needs. I take pride in being a listener, a translator of needs, and a champion for delivering business outcomes that align with strategic goals. Question number 2. How do you see yourself fit for the role of business analyst in our company? This helps employers understand how well you've researched the company, how your background aligns with their goals, and whether you see a future with them. I see a strong alignment between my background and the needs of your company. From what I've learned about your organization, particularly your focus on customer-driven innovation and data-backed decision-making, I believe my skills can support your mission effectively. In my previous role, I worked closely with cross-functional teams to improve internal processes that reduce customer wait times by 18%. I also used data modeling and root cause analysis to streamline a reporting workflow that saved the company over 200 hours annually. What excites me about your company is your commitment to continuous improvement and smart technology adoption. I bring a strong analytical mindset, solid technical proficiency, and a track record of communicating effectively with both executives and developers. I'm confident that I can contribute from day one by identifying inefficiencies, supporting smarter decisions with data, and ensuring project outcomes stay aligned with your goals. Question number 3. What, according to you, are the core competencies of a business analyst? This question helps assess whether you understand what makes a BA successful beyond just tools and techniques. The core competencies of a business analyst include analytical thinking, effective communication, problem solving, and a solid understanding of both business and technical domains. A successful BA must be skilled at gathering requirements, asking the right questions, and translating business needs into actionable items. Another key competency is adaptability. Business needs evolve quickly, and being able to pivot, learn, and adjust is essential. Critical thinking and decision-making are also vital. BAs often must evaluate conflicting inputs and recommend the best course of action. Relationship building matters too because trust with stakeholders drives collaboration and transparency. Lastly, attention to detail while keeping the bigger picture in mind is what helps ensure the solution aligns with strategic goals. I strive to maintain a balance between big picture thinking and execution, which I've found to be a powerful combination in past projects. Question number 4. List some of the skills and tools used by business analysts. Employers want to know if you're familiar with industry standard tools and if you can hit the ground running with the tech stack they likely use. Business analysts rely on a mix of soft and technical skills. On the soft skills side, communication, negotiation, stakeholder management, and documentation are essential. On the technical side, BAs often use tools for data analysis, modeling, and project tracking. For example, I've used Microsoft Excel for deep data analysis and pivot reporting, SQL for querying databases, and Power BI for creating interactive dashboards that help non-technical stakeholders understand trends. For documentation and collaboration, I've worked with Confluence and Jira in agile environments, and Visio and Lucidchart for process mapping. When gathering and managing requirements, I use tools like Trello or Jira to keep user stories organized and prioritized. I've also worked with Balsamiq for wireframes and mockups. The ability to choose the right tool for the job while staying focused on delivering value to the business is something I bring to every project. Question number 5. Do you have any technical skills? Can you list your database skills or business intelligence skills? Hiring managers want to know how comfortable you are with technical tasks like querying databases or working with BI tools to extract insights. Yes, I bring a solid mix of technical skills that support my work as a business analyst. I have experience writing SQL queries to pull data from relational databases such as MySQL and SQL Server, which helps me validate data, spot trends, and answer business questions without relying on a developer. In my previous role, I often used SQL to identify KPIs for operational performance and used that data to shape recommendations during stakeholder meetings. I am also familiar with Power BI and Tableau for data visualization. I've built dashboards that track key business metrics in real time and empower teams to make better decisions. I'm comfortable working with Excel on advanced functions like VLOOKUP, index match, and pivot tables, which are often the fastest way to spot quick insights. While I'm not a developer, I speak the language well enough to collaborate closely with technical teams and bridge any gaps between business needs and technical execution. Question number 6. What is INVEST? INVEST is a key framework in agile environments. Interviewers ask this to test your familiarity with best practices for writing effective user stories. INVEST is a widely used acronym that helps ensure user stories are well written and actionable in agile development. It stands for independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. Independent means the story can be developed separately without relying too much on others. Negotiable means it's flexible and open for discussion rather than being a fixed contract. Valuable ensures that the story delivers value to the customer or business. Estimable means it can be assessed in terms of effort or time. Small keeps the story manageable within a sprint. Testable means we can confirm when the story is complete and working. In practice, I use INVEST to guide conversations with stakeholders and development teams. It helps avoid misunderstandings, reduce rework, and ensure we're always focusing on outcomes that matter. I've found it to be a helpful mental checklist for writing clean, effective user stories. Question number 7. Are you aware of the different techniques like Moscow and SWOT? This tests your familiarity with prioritization and strategic analysis tools commonly used by BAs. Yes, I'm familiar with both Moscow and SWOT, and I've used them in various project settings. Moscow is a prioritization technique used to classify requirements into must-have, should-have, could-have, and won't-have. It's especially useful when working with tight timelines or limited resources. During a product enhancement initiative, we use Moscow to guide stakeholder discussions and ensure critical functionality was delivered first. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's often used during strategic planning or project initiation. For instance, during the early phase of a market expansion project, I facilitated a SWOT session with department leads to understand internal capabilities and external risks. That helped shape a more realistic and focused plan. These tools aren't just checkboxes. They help align teams, clarify goals, and ensure decisions are grounded in a shared understanding of priorities and risks. Question number 8. What do you mean by project deliverables? Hiring managers want to confirm that you understand how project success is measured and what outcomes you're responsible for delivering. Project deliverables are the tangible or intangible outcomes that are produced as a result of a project. These can include documents, reports, software modules, business processes, or any product or service created to meet project objectives. Deliverables are often agreed upon in the project scope and used to measure success. As a business analyst, I've been responsible for several key deliverables: requirements, documents, user stories, process flow diagrams, functional specifications, and test case documentation. I've also contributed to deliverables like stakeholder presentations and post-implementation review reports. In one project, I worked with developers and testers to ensure the user stories I wrote translated into features that matched what the client expected. Each deliverable serves as a milestone in the project's progress and ensures we're on track to meet business goals. I always work closely with project managers to confirm that deliverables are reviewed, approved, and aligned with the overall objectives. Question number 9. How do you keep yourself updated about the latest business trends and knowledge? Hiring managers want to see that you're proactive in staying relevant in a fast-changing business world. They're evaluating your curiosity, dedication to learning, and awareness of tools, trends, and methods that can impact your performance. I stay updated through a mix of online learning, industry blogs, and networking. I regularly follow platforms like Harvard Business Review, McKinsey Insights, and TechCrunch to stay on top of business and tech trends. I'm also active on LinkedIn and participate in relevant forums and BA groups where professionals share real-world experiences and tools. To deepen my knowledge, I take part in webinars and have completed courses on data analytics and agile methodologies through Coursera and LinkedIn Learning. Staying current not only helps me add value to projects, but also helps in identifying opportunities or risks early on. I believe being well informed is part of being a strong business analyst, especially when making recommendations that could shape business direction. Question number 10. Can you explain UML and its uses? This question tests your technical knowledge and ability to use structured models to communicate system design clearly. Employers want to ensure you understand how to use UML to bridge the gap between stakeholders and development teams. UML, or Unified Modeling Language, is a standardized modeling language used to visualize the structure and behavior of a system. As a business analyst, I use UML to create diagrams that help explain how a system should behave or interact with users and other systems. For example, I often use use case diagrams to outline system functionality from a user's perspective and sequence diagrams to map out how processes unfold over time. UML helps ensure that both technical and non-technical stakeholders are on the same page. In my last project, using UML diagrams helped reduce back and forth with the development team by clarifying requirements early. It's a versatile tool that brings structure and clarity to system requirements. Question number 11. Can you explain SRS and its key elements? They want to assess your familiarity with one of the most fundamental documents in software projects. It also shows your ability to define, structure, and manage requirements in a clear and comprehensive format. SRS stands for Software Requirements Specification. It's a document that describes the functional and non-functional requirements of a system, ensuring everyone, from clients to developers, has a clear understanding of what is expected. A good SRS includes sections like the purpose, scope, functional requirements, non-functional requirements like performance and security, assumptions, constraints, and acceptance criteria. In one of my past projects, I created an SRS that detailed both user interactions and system behavior for a finance application. Because the document was well organized and reviewed with stakeholders, it served as a reliable reference for the entire development cycle. A solid SRS reduces misunderstandings and scope creep, making it a critical asset in project delivery. Before we continue, you can download a copy of these exact interview questions and answers in PDF format by making a minimum donation of $3 and supporting my channel. Your continued support helps me create content like this, so you can pass your interview and land your dream job. Download your copy by clicking on the link in the description below. I want to thank you for supporting my channel. Question number 12. What is BRD? How is it different from SRS? Hiring managers ask this to check your understanding of core documentation used in business analysis. They want to see if you can differentiate between business-level goals and technical specifications, and whether you understand how each document serves a different audience. A BRD, or Business Requirements Document, outlines the high-level business needs and objectives of a project. It focuses on what the business wants to achieve and is typically written from the perspective of stakeholders or end users. An SRS, or Software Requirements Specification, dives deeper into the technical aspects of those requirements. It translates business needs into system-level specifications, detailing how the system should behave. The key difference lies in the audience and the depth. BRDs are meant for business stakeholders and project sponsors, while SRS documents are primarily for development and QA teams. For example, a BRD might state that users need to generate monthly sales reports, whereas the SRS would define data fields, filters, report formats, and system behaviors required to fulfill that goal. Understanding both documents and how they complement each other is crucial for ensuring smooth communication between business and technical teams. Question number 13. What do you understand by requirement? Can you differentiate between requirements and needs? This question helps interviewers assess whether you can distinguish between what a client needs and how those needs are expressed as actionable requirements. It's about your ability to bridge gaps between abstract goals and measurable, implementable outcomes. A requirement is a condition or capability that must be met or possessed by a system to satisfy a contract, standard, or user need. Requirements can be functional, what the system should do, or non-functional, how the system should perform. A need is broader and often less defined. It represents the business problem or opportunity that the stakeholders want to address. For example, a stakeholder might express a need to speed up the sales process, and that's a need. My job as a business analyst is to dig deeper through techniques like interviews or workshops to identify requirements, such as automate invoice generation within the CRM system or reduce data entry time by 50%. A good BA translates vague needs into specific, testable, and traceable requirements that developers can work with and stakeholders can approve. Question number 14. How can you say that a requirement is good or perfect? Interviewers want to ensure you understand the characteristics of quality requirements. It shows whether you can validate and manage requirements effectively before development begins. A good requirement is one that is clear, complete, consistent, and testable. I often use the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound as a guideline. In practice, I also rely on the INVEST criteria, especially in agile environments: independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. For example, instead of writing a vague requirement like improve the login process, a well-defined requirement would be users must be able to log into the system using two-factor authentication within 10 seconds, 95% of the time. This version is measurable and testable, giving the QA and development teams a clear success target. A perfect requirement not only aligns with business goals, but is also feasible to implement within time and budget constraints. To ensure quality, I conduct reviews with stakeholders and developers early in the process and validate each requirement for traceability and alignment with project objectives. Question number 15. What is the purpose of the requirement traceability matrix? This question checks if you know how to maintain alignment between requirements, design, development, and testing. Traceability is crucial for managing scope and ensuring all requirements are fulfilled. The Requirement Traceability Matrix, RTM, is a tool used to ensure that every business requirement is mapped through the project lifecycle, from initiation to testing and delivery. Its purpose is to maintain visibility, reduce scope creep, and confirm that each requirement is addressed in the final product. In my past projects, I've used the RTM to link business requirements to functional requirements, design elements, test cases, and status updates. For example, if a stakeholder asks whether a certain feature was implemented, I can quickly refer to the RTM to show its status and related documentation. The matrix also helps during testing, making sure no requirement is left untested. It becomes especially useful in change management, where you need to assess the impact of a modification across the project. A well-maintained RTM supports transparency, accountability, and traceability, which are critical for delivering high-quality outcomes in a structured and auditable way. Question number 16. What is business modeling? They want to see if you understand how to visualize and communicate business processes, systems, and data flows. Strong business modeling skills show that you can map complex systems and support better decision making. Business modeling is the practice of representing business processes, structures, and systems through visual diagrams or structured documentation. It helps stakeholders understand how the organization operates, identify inefficiencies, and align operations with strategic goals. Common models include process flow diagrams, data flow diagrams, SWOT analysis, and value chain analysis. For instance, I once used a BPMN, business process model and notation diagram to help a client understand their order fulfillment process. By mapping each step, we identified delays in inventory updates and introduced automation that cut processing time by 30%. Business models serve as a common language between technical teams and stakeholders. They reduce ambiguity, promote clarity, and support more informed decisions. As a business analyst, creating and interpreting these models helps me communicate solutions clearly, validate assumptions, and design improvements grounded in real data. Question number 17. What is the project life cycle? Which models will you employ and why? This question tests your understanding of how projects evolve from start to finish and whether you can choose appropriate methodologies based on project needs. It also shows your flexibility and strategic thinking. The project life cycle refers to the series of phases a project goes through from initiation to closure. The main phases typically include initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closure. The model or methodology used to manage these phases depends on the project's nature, risks, and stakeholder needs. For example, in well-defined projects with stable requirements, like regulatory compliance systems, I might choose the waterfall model for its structured approach. But for projects with evolving needs, such as mobile app development, I prefer Agile or Scrum. These frameworks support iterative development, faster feedback, and adaptability. In one recent Agile project, we delivered a working MVP in 4 sprints and used user feedback to refine the product continuously. Selecting the right lifecycle model ensures that the team remains aligned, risks are managed proactively, and the solution stays relevant to users. I always assess project complexity, stakeholder involvement, and time constraints before choosing the right approach. Question number 18. What do you understand by gap analysis? And what are the types of gaps that can occur during an analysis? Hiring managers want to assess your ability to identify the difference between current and desired performance. They're also checking if you understand the strategic importance of addressing gaps and know how to categorize them effectively. Gap analysis is a method used to compare the current state of a business process, system, or structure to its desired future state. It helps identify what's missing or underperforming so a plan can be created to bridge that gap. I've used gap analysis to uncover issues like outdated software tools, missing features in a product, or inefficiencies in workflows. The main types of gaps include performance gaps where outcomes fall short, market gaps where customer needs aren't met, profitability gaps, difference between actual and potential profits, and manpower gaps, shortage of skill sets or team capacity. For instance, in one project, we identified a performance gap in our order tracking system. It didn't update in real time. This led to customer dissatisfaction. Through a well-documented gap analysis, we defined requirements for a new module and tracked implementation from start to finish, resulting in a measurable improvement in service response time. Question number 19. What strategies will you follow to design a use case? They're testing your ability to translate business needs into functional interactions. It shows how well you can think through scenarios and structure them in a way that developers and stakeholders can follow. When designing a use case, I start by identifying the primary actors and their goals. I gather input from stakeholders to understand the full scope of the functionality required. From there, I define the system's boundaries and outline the basic flow. What happens when everything goes as expected? Then I move on to alternate flows and exception paths, which show how the system should handle errors or special conditions. I ensure each use case is clear, consistent, and traceable back to business requirements. I also use tools like UML diagrams or user stories depending on the project context. On a recent project, I worked with both end users and developers to write use cases for an internal claims processing portal. By clearly mapping out expected and alternate behaviors, we reduced development errors and testing time. The result was a smoother user experience and faster turnaround for our internal clients. Question number 20. Explain your typical work tactic for a project. They want to know how you approach projects from start to finish. Your answer reveals your organizational skills, consistency, and ability to work across different phases of the project lifecycle. My typical work tactic starts with understanding the business goals and key stakeholders involved. I begin with stakeholder interviews, workshops, or document reviews to gather background information. Then I move into requirements elicitation and validation, ensuring we capture the what and why behind each need. I like to break the work down into manageable phases: initiation, analysis, documentation, validation, and handover. I create a communication plan early so all parties know what to expect and when. Throughout the project, I use tools like Jira or Confluence for documentation and task tracking. During a recent system integration project, this structured approach helped me uncover a major conflict in data formats early on. By flagging the issue early and facilitating a quick design discussion, we avoided a costly rework. My focus is always on collaboration, clear documentation, and traceable decisions to ensure nothing is lost as the project evolves. Question number 21. What documents are needed by a business analyst? Which documents have you prepared in your previous works? Hiring managers want to verify that you understand the core deliverables in a BA's toolkit and that you've had real-world experience preparing them. A business analyst is responsible for producing several key documents throughout a project lifecycle. These include business requirements documents, BRD, functional requirements documents, FRD, use cases, user stories, process flow diagrams, gap analyses, stakeholder analysis matrices, and test case documentation. In my previous roles, I've prepared most of these. For example, I led the creation of a BRD for a client onboarding platform where we captured over 100 requirements across 6 departments. I then translated these into detailed functional specs for developers and collaborated with QA to align them with test cases. I've also built RACI charts, performed SWOT analysis, and maintained traceability matrices to ensure full coverage of requirements. Clear documentation reduces ambiguity and accelerates development. I make sure everything I write is reviewed and approved by the relevant stakeholders to maintain accountability and alignment. Question number 22. What is the requirement elicitation? Have you ever participated in these elicitation meetings? This question checks if you've done the groundwork of gathering requirements directly from stakeholders. It also highlights your communication and collaboration skills. Requirement elicitation is the process of gathering information from stakeholders to understand what the business truly needs. It's one of the most critical parts of the business analysis process because it forms the foundation of the entire project. I've participated in and led many elicitation meetings using different techniques: interviews, workshops, brainstorming sessions, observation, and surveys. For instance, in a past healthcare project, I organized a series of workshops with nurses, billing staff, and IT to gather functional needs for a new scheduling system. Each group had different priorities, so I used a combination of questionnaires and direct follow-up to dig deeper. What helped most was active listening and documenting each input in real time. After gathering the data, I used Moscow prioritization to align stakeholder expectations. Elicitation is not just about asking questions, it's about knowing which questions unlock the right answers. Question number 23. What are the various kinds of diagrams you use as a business analyst? How do they impact the work? They want to know whether you can visualize complex systems and communicate them clearly. Diagrams are powerful tools in bridging the gap between technical and non-technical audiences. As a business analyst, I use a variety of diagrams to simplify and clarify complex systems. Common ones include use case diagrams, process flowcharts, activity diagrams, entity relationship diagrams, and swim lane diagrams. These visuals help stakeholders understand the scope, data flow, and responsibilities within a system. For instance, I often use swim lane diagrams during process redesign meetings to show who does what and when. This helps pinpoint inefficiencies or redundancies. I've also used diagrams to clarify data relationships for development teams working on new database models. One of my favorites is the context diagram, especially in early discovery sessions, because it sets the stage by showing system boundaries and interactions. These diagrams not only support clarity but also reduce rework since everyone's on the same page before development begins. They're critical tools for alignment and communication across teams. And finally, here's the last question on our list. Question number 24. What is the exception and alternate flow in a use case diagram? How are they different from basic flow? This question helps interviewers evaluate your attention to detail and understanding of system behavior in non-ideal scenarios. It also reflects how well you plan for edge cases. In a use case diagram, the basic flow represents the standard sequence of steps that occur when everything works as intended. It's the most common, successful path an actor takes to achieve a goal. Alternate flows, on the other hand, are variations of the basic flow, optional or less common scenarios that still lead to a successful outcome. Exception flows occur when something goes wrong and the use case cannot be completed as expected. These might involve errors like invalid input, system downtime, or missing information. For example, in a use case for user login, the basic flow is entering valid credentials. An alternate flow might include logging in via social media. An exception flow would be entering the wrong password multiple times and being locked out. Accounting for all these flows helps create more resilient systems and allows developers to prepare for real-world complexity beyond the ideal path. If you want to learn more on how to land jobs and reach your career goals, don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell notification button to get new videos every single week. Also, don't forget to hit that like button because that motivates me to keep doing what I do. Stay safe, keep smiling, and good luck.